So I want to welcome everyone. Some of you have attended the session yesterday, so welcome again. Some of you're attending this session only. So whatever the case, we wish to welcome you all. The session today is on Advance SMS. And we think that it could be more appropriate for organizations that they already have a matured SMS. An SMS that it has been running for some time, and they possibly look for something more than that and how they can improve it. So we identified through this session, I know it's a limited session, we normally have this training in 2 days. So you can imagine that we will cover only some key elements. So we have selected some key elements that we think that it will be interesting for you. So especially we want to have a special reference to our young generation, because aviation, it's a beautiful industry, but we need to ensure that we have an environment where we encourage the young generation to join and make them feel proud of this activity and for joining the family of aviation. So we are very glad to welcome several students and other people who have just joined aviation. Of course, a lot of colleagues from the yesterday's session, and of course other colleagues. We have many organizations, people from many organizations, including aviation authorities, airlines, approved maintenance organizations, military, manufacturers, air traffic aviation training organizations, air traffic services, airports, airport handlers. So we have a big variety of professionals joining the session, and you're all welcome. So for the people who were not here yesterday, my background is safety management. I have a master's degree in safety management and human factors. I worked for many years as a supervisor and licensed aircraft engineer. In 2005, I established GRADIS, and I'm a member of the European EASA Human Factors Advisory Group. And we have worked in the human factors and SMS requirements for the last maybe 20 years. So it seems that I'm too old for that, but whatever the reason. I'm a member of the Executive Board of Aircraft Engineers International, and of course, I'm passionate with training and safety and human factors. A few things about GRADIS. We have a specialization on human factors, safety, and organizational behavior. We are an EASA-approved training organization on their 147 approval, and we have academic and research activity through 2 universities, University of Cyprus and Trinity College, Dublin. We have been to over 35 countries, and we have been blessed to meet all these people from different organizations, including large ones and smaller ones, and mainly in the aviation sector. Although we have been active in other areas the last few years, like healthcare, but the aviation seems to be our main activity. We have the pleasure to be to all of these organizations and work with safety and management teams in order to help them implement their SMS and also train them in various topics. We have been delivering other types of training as well, including SMS for senior management, SMS for all personnel, for key personnel, safety leadership, and I will explain what safety leadership is later on, auditing safety management system, risk management, incident investigation, safety performance measurement, and root cause analysis are some of the trainings that we offer, and they are directly related to SMS. About this training, we will have a break at approximately 120 minutes from now for, 1 hour and 20 minutes from now for 15 minutes duration. The certificates will be issued to people who have full participation. So if the certificates from yesterday, if not now, but during the day will be sent if they have not been sent already for the yesterday. So we try to send the certificates to you tomorrow. The course, as we said, it has a duration of normally 2 days. There will be questions session at the end. So if you have any questions, there is a Q&A function on the Zoom. So if you look at your action tab, one of them is the Q&A, and is a place where you can place your questions, and we will make an effort to answer them by the end of the session. Our training is usually very interactive, so this is more or less a compromise version of what we try to do through training. Having an audience until now with 114 people is very hard to make a classroom training, but your participation is still very important. So we'll be glad to receive your views throughout the training and have some discussion about the topics of this session. We also want to thank the colleagues that will accept the offer to work with us in this session. So we have 6 colleagues that you have the pleasure to meet in a few minutes. The presentation plus other things will be sent to you. So along in an email, you will get a place where you can download the presentation and other documents. What are the topics for today? We'll talk about some challenges. We will have a story. We talk about strategy and performance management, the safety picture. What is this safety picture? Auditing SMS, and finally, safety leadership. These are the 6 topics that we will be running today. So in order to facilitate this interactive approach and get your views, we have been associated with a software called Slido. So we would like to ask you to join this session through Slido. So, and if you can possibly either scan the QR code or enter slido.com and use this number in order to go to our meeting. So I'll give you a few minutes to log into it, 1 minute or so. So please take the few seconds to do this, and I'll come back to you in a little bit. Okay, let's move on. This QR code will appear again. So even if you have not scan this and enter into the system, you have more opportunities to do this. What we suggest is to keep this application open in your mobiles or in your computer, whatever. Please keep it open. It will be easier for you to manage it. There is no need to close it and have it open every time we have a connection. So let's start with a small input, and this is I would like you to put the name of your country you live now. So it will be nice to see the different countries that we have with us today. That is very exciting to have so many countries. It seems that our colleagues from the Philippines are number one, or possibly competing with Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia has the lead now. So welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for your inputs. So we had from the 82 people that participated in this, we received possibly around 20, 25 countries, something like that. Well, thank you very much. So we want to have a small discussion because this section of challenges is important also for us to understand what are the challenges you're facing and how we can also help with this session in this direction. So I would like to ask you to use again Slido and enter some frequent challenges by organization having a mature SMS. Please enter maximum of 3 challenges and use maximum 3 words for each challenge. This will make it more manageable, will make the result more manageable. So 3 challenges that your organizations with a mature SMS face, and 3 words for each challenge. So we have a lot of culture and safety culture issues, complacency, resources, reporting, just culture, management commitment, the budget. And then we have many, many others like fairness, stagnation, top management commitment, management accountability, communication, lack of communication, training, violation of procedures, leadership, be too confident, external pressure. So all of these are very, very valuable inputs. Thank you for this. Another 3 colleagues are typing, so let us let them finish. Great. So thank you very much for your inputs. I would like to discuss these challenges with a colleague, Mr. Kostas Boukas. Kostas is a compliance and monitoring and safety and of the CAMO and a quality manager of Part 145 at Superior Air. So can we possibly connect with Kostas? We can, just a second, Kostas. Kostas Boukas, Mr. Kostas Boukas. He's not here with us. Konstantinos or Kostas Boukas. Kostas, if you are here with us, please put something in the chat. No, it's okay. It's okay. No worries. So there is, seems to be a technical problem. Let us come back later on. So we develop our list when we have a shorter list. All of the items that you have mentioned are valid and very well respected, but I wanted to refer to the following points. One is performance management, is the ability of the organization to manage the safety performance. Managing safety data. How do we manage the safety data? We know how important is safety data, but we need to find ways to manage the safety data. And having much data is not a sign that we are doing well. It's one thing to have data, and it's another thing to manage the data in a way that we can get some valuable information. So it's one thing to have data, and it's another thing to have good knowledge on how to deal with the data. Auditing SMS, so that's another challenge. How do we audit SMS? And finally, the manager's effectiveness in the application of SMS duties. So I think we all recognize that managers have a key role in SMS implementation. So how effective are the managers these days can have a huge impact on the SMS. So I'd like to move to our story. Yes, so we have a small story that we have made up for this session. It's not a real story. And it's about an aviation organization named as Pelican. Yes, so that's a name. Yesterday we had the Eagle, today we had a Pelican. I have searched and there is a Pelican organization somewhere in the Czech Republic, I think, but it is nothing to do with this organization. So about the company, 5,000 personnel, 8 years of SMS. So SMS has been operating for 8 years in this organization. It has several external and internal audits, of course, that they had very few findings on SMS. A recent incident investigated by the Accident Investigation Board of the country. So they had an incident, not an accident, but it was a serious incident. That's why the EIB has decided to investigate it. The investigation indicated deficiencies in SMS. So it was linked with the SMS performance. So they considered that the SMS was, or the inefficiency of the SMS was a contributing factor to this incident. So the company decided to appoint or to hire an external auditor to evaluate their SMS. Yeah. So this auditor is with us today, and this auditor will interview the operations manager. You will be required to complete a quiz based on this dialogue after the dialogue. So you will listen to a dialogue between the external SMS auditor and the operations manager. And these are the two. So we have Mrs. Ludmila Milisenko. She's a consultant, instructor, and IOSA auditor. I know Ludmila because we cooperated in the implementation of SMS of Etihad Airways. She was an auditor there. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you, Ludmila, with us. Your microphone is off. Now it's on.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, Vangelis. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
You are in France?
Yes.
Excellent. So welcome, and so you will be helping us in this dialogue. You will be acting as a safety consultant or auditor in order to verify the effectiveness of the SMS of this organization. Yes. So I will be the operations manager for a few minutes. So I'm at your hands. First of all, I would like to welcome you, Ms. Milchenko, to our company, to Pelgan Aviation. And we appreciate so much your contribution to this effort to improve our SMS. So we are ready for your inputs.
By Pelgan Aviation to evaluate your SMS and make some recommendation for improvement.
Of course.
Are you okay with that?
And we fully appreciate that, and we welcome you.
Thank you very much. So would you be so kind, please, Mr. Kim, to tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay. I have been in this organization for 5 years now. I was in another organization before. I came and I was appointed immediately as the operations manager. We have a big department, so we are over 3,000 people, so you can understand it's a big operation. And I'm proud that we are doing a great job as an operations department.
Thank you. This is understood. So what is your involvement in SMS since you took over this position, Mr. Kemp?
Several items. One, of course, is participating in safety committees, both in the SRB, but also in the safety action group of our department, because there are other safety action groups. So I have frequent participation in the meetings. I try to be there every time. I'm also doing a lot of promotion. We along with the safety department, that they organize safety events once a year. So I always take a role in these safety events in giving a speech and so on. So that's another one. And of course, a lot of other of the SMS issues like, overseeing some safety risk management, risk assessments that they are done. So some other management of changes or incident investigation reviews. So there are many items that I do practice as part of my duties as the operations manager.
Okay, understood. In the SMS manual of your company, there are a set of safety objectives. Are you aware of those objectives?
Yes, I cannot remember now if you ask me the content, but I know there are around 5-6 objectives.
Okay, actually, Mr. Kim, those are 12, but whatever. Those objectives have been there for quite a period of time, 6 years actually, without any amendment. Have you ever considered those objectives when making decisions about SMS in your organization?
To be honest, no. I know that when I made my first training in SMS in the organization, they made a reference to them. But to be honest, I haven't looked at them since then, so I cannot really remember what is the content of these objectives.
Okay, understood. What about your SPIs? I'm sure you are aware of those.
Of course, SPIs are an important part of how we manage safety in the organization.
So when those been developed, are you aware?
Well, when I came, the SPIs were already developed. I was not involved in the development, so we kept the same SPI since then. So that's about it.
I also have noticed that some of those are the ones that are required from your authority of a country, but some of those are company specific.
Yes, we have a few SPIs that the authority requires from all the aviation organizations. So we follow those, but we have a few of our own SPIs, company specific.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any difficulties with SPIs of your department? What about the software in use to monitor those?
We have a very good software, actually. So we are glad that we have this software. It's and I think it's a huge help in monitoring and managing. We get warnings about if we pass some limit, it is managed.
Okay, you have not amended the SPIs since you took over this position. Have you ever considered amending those? For example, like looking into the safety data of the previous year?
No, not really. We always thought that these are good and they work for us, so we didn't touch them.
Okay, I've noticed as well that all SPIs refer to events or near misses. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, I don't know if we should do any other SPIs, but this is, I think we are covering more or less the biggest events that we can have. So I would say we are happy with that.
Mm. The software your company is using for managing SMS is one of the best I have ever seen in the industry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, what data do you use from there for the decisions you make about SMS or other safety issues?
Well, the data that we use is actually the only data that we use is to do with the reports, the investigations that we have, and also the audits. So these are possibly the three areas: the reporting, the investigation, and the audits that we perform. So the data from these forms the data that we use in order to make decisions.
Okay, safety report and auditing information are essential, obviously vital sources of information. Have you also considered using other sources of information?
No, we haven't considered other sources. I'm not sure what exactly do you mean, but no, this is the information we have been using.
Talking about auditing, I was looking through the auditing records for the last 3 years within the organization, and several SMS internal and several external audits were performed, of course, but most of them with no findings on the SMS. Do you think that they reflect the correct picture of SMS within the organization?
Well, I think the report of the last incident, the investigation report from the AIB was a wake-up call for us, and it has indicated that SMS is possibly not as ideal as we thought it is. So maybe it is not reflecting the right picture of the organization.
So do you think there is much room for improvement in the auditing of SMS?
I believe so, and also the methodologies needs to be improved, at least on our side. So we need to be able to capture items that we have possibly been missing until now.
Mm-hmm. I would like to talk about one more item, Mr. Kim, the issue of leadership and the contribution of the leaders in the SMS process. First of all, how is the relationship between the management and the rest of the personnel in the company?
And that's one issue, because we had because of the COVID, a lot of people left, and there was a lot of perception between the people, and the environment in the company was damaged. So the relationship between the staff and the management has not been very good, especially the last couple of years. So we have tried a few things, but we are not there yet.
So what do you think about the level of trust between management and the staff?
Yes, I think this goes along with the previous point, and I believe the trust is definitely not as we would like it to be, especially when it comes to personally trusting the managers. I think we have a lot of room for improvement there.
So do you think such a situation can affect safety?
Yes, if I would say no, I would be lying. I think yes, it's very hard to justify this, but yeah, I think we all feel that trust is very important for safety.
And have you, as one of the management team, tried to address the situation?
We have done some, company-wide meetings, roadshows, whatever we call them, with some emails and possibly some, including some messages of the CEO in the training. We still have a lot of way to go, I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim, for your willingness and to offer your honest and view on the topics we discussed. I will prepare a report from evaluation I perform, and I will be happy to receive your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Sodidor, and thank you very much for taking part in this seminar with me, and thank you very much for your inputs.
My great pleasure. A very common standard situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we want to go back to our quiz now, because I thought I promised to give you a quiz based on the dialogue that we had, and this is the quiz that I would like you to complete. There are 5 questions, so I would like you to answer these questions. So you can begin now answering the questions. So I think the questions are clear. So it seems that the majority of people rated this as an average situation. Very few rated this as excellent. Some rated this as poor, which is 1 and 16% to 20% and so on. I would tell you my opinion. My opinion is possibly I would agree with the number 3, so with the opinions of the majority there. I don't think that is definitely an excellent, is not an excellent organization. It has some serious issues. And it's neither possibly in the poor condition where we have is very low. The organization is doing a lot, but it's possibly not reaching the levels that we would like it to reach. So this is my opinion on that. Let's go to the next question. Thank you for your inputs. This is the next question. How effective is the approach on SPIs? Okay, the majority of people, they gave a 2 rating, so below average. I believe this organization has, as it was said, it has some SPIs in place, but they have not been reviewed for a number of years. They don't address, they address only failures, and we will discuss if this is okay or not. So yes, possibly between 2 and 3 would have been my own evaluation. Thank you for that. We go to the next one. How good is their safety data? There is a wrong spelling of the word rating there. So the majority scored this as 3. I would possibly agree with that, although I would be inclined to go to number 2, so even lower than average. And we'll explain to you why. Okay, again, the majority is number 2, which is below average. And talking about the effectiveness of the leadership, I think we had the manager himself admitting that they have issues, and they had issues like trust. So again, this is possibly very important issue, and we know why it's important for SMS. We come back to this during our last module. Thank you for your inputs. Let's go to module number 3, which is on safety strategy and performance management. So why strategy? Why do we need strategy? It is not a requirement, yes? If you remember yesterday, we mentioned the Kratis model. And strategy was one of the items in the fundamental process. It is not a requirement, but we highly recommend it. And why? Safety is a journey, as we know. It's not the destination. So we say that with safety, we don't reach a destination and that's it. We say we have done what we have done and that's it. We rest and we don't do anything more now. So it's a constant process. The question is where we want to go. So if we have a road to go and we have a car, so the road is where we want to go. Yes, the route that we follow. So we want to go to, for example, to another city, or in our case, we want to reach a situation where we reach this safety level performance, or we minimize the incidents under this situation, or we minimize the stabilized approaches, or whatever we put as a road in front of us. What is, and this is possibly the strategy where we want to go, yeah. But in order to go to one road, we need a car. As a car, let's say, of course, we can have an aircraft or other things, but let's say we use a car in order to go to this road, to this. How do we get there? Or how do we get there is our car. And what is the car then? So the car is actually the SMS. Is the SMS that helps us to move to one direction. It is the same when a financial software that we use in organizations. Yes. So the software something is not the action. The plan is possibly the budget, another plan, financial plans that we have. But the software is something, or the software that we have there for financial software is the tool that helps us to go there. In a similar situation is the SMS. It's one thing to have a vision of where we want to reach, and it's another thing to have a car on how to reach there. Yeah? So these are two things that possibly differ, and or does they don't help us to get there. So because there is no requirement, there is no demand from authorities and so on to have this safety strategy. So safety strategy is a plan for achieving the organization's safety vision. But strategy is not only a plan, it's a framework for decision making, a set of guiding principles which can be applied as the situation evolves. So this is very briefly, I'm not going to go into detail. But last 2 years in their aviation safety plan, European Plan for Aviation Safety, the EPAS, this is the second year that they have the word strategy. So they have one section dedicated to strategy. So the last years and this years have a specific section that is dedicated to strategy. So we can see also only last week that they advertise a position on strategy and safety management director. So they understood and they have tried to develop a strategy that is based on many things. It's based on the data of the previous year. It's based on what they want to achieve for the coming years. So they develop a strategy or based on all the data that they have. So this is our next opinion. So I would like you to think of the safety data and identify some sources of safety data that we can have in an organization. What safety data and what are the sources of the safety data? So please put maximum 3 sources, maximum 3 words per source. So let us see your views, please. So another very rich list. Allow me looking at the sources that you have here. One has to do with mainly with failures, either serious failures or non-serious failures. So so when it comes to incidents or incident report, occurrence reports, hazard reports, or possibly hazard reports are not, but so most of them they contain the element of failure, yes. But there are a lot others that they don't contain the element of failures. I have noted a few, like observations, feedback, operations data, people, surveys, news, interviews, and the hazard reports, possibly risk assessment. So these are very important source of data. So I believe the data should not be only failures. We should look, as you very well said, into other areas, not wait only for failures. It's like sitting down and wait for some to say, I have one data here. My failure, yes, only safety daily.
see or to foresee what if something goes wrong, what will be in which area and what will be exactly if we have any failure. So having these two in mind, the data that we can work with setting up a safety strategy could be, first of all, the already identified safety risks that we have in our organization. And as you said very well, it doesn't have to be only the failures, but we can use also all other valuable data, like the reportings, like HFDM, if we have already an HFDM system in place, like the CVR. We have introduced a CVR, a voluntary CVR, randomly each month, like the LOSA.
Yes.
The LOSA, the line operation safety audits, it's a type of observation, it's not punitive at all, and we can find over there very valuable data and very valuable information about the organization. So we can use all this useful data in order to set up our strategy, having in mind always to keep on improving, to improve every year, and accordingly to adjust the safety strategy, and also having in mind that we are aiming to reach to a predictive status, which is the best that we can have in an SMS, in a mature SMS system.
Very good, very good. And are you? I know that strategy is also something that you apply. How does the senior management look into strategy? Is it something that they embrace, and the thing is in they see its usefulness?
Most of the times I would say yes.
Okay.
As long as the management team understands that the SMS is not part only of the SMS manager, but it's a responsibility of each manager and actually of all employees, then they embrace and they welcome, and they are in the same boat with everybody. So the key point is everybody to understand that it's our own duty, our own responsibility to be an SMS manager or to be a safety advisor for whatever we are dealing with.
Thank you very much, Marcos. Excellent inputs. So nice to see you, and all the best to you. Good continuation to the nice work that you do with for the company.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, and very pleased to see you, Vangelis.
Very pleased to see you, Marcos. All the best to you.
Thanks.
So outputs of the safety strategy. That's so one thing I think Marcos has already touched on this, and has thank you for doing this, Marcos. So one thing is the inputs, but also is the outputs. What we do there with all the what we aiming to achieve with the safety strategy. Marcos has already told us a few things, but if I wanted to say in a couple of words, one, it would be safety performance objectives. So we expect to have some objectives. So if the data last year show us that we have we need to apply some training, then we put an objective. We say that, you know, let's decide on some training, and we put an objective, a smart objective, specific, measurable, attainable, what is the R? Realistic and time-bound objective that will help us to know and to monitor whether we have achieved this at the end of the year. So we put this some smart objectives. So this one thing. Of course, we develop or we modify our safety performance indicators. So the safety performance indicators, they should be reflecting our strategy. So we need to have some high-level objectives, and then based on these objectives, we develop our SPIs and our SPOs, the smart SPOs. And finally, we need to develop some action plan, because it's one thing to measure something, and it's another thing to take some some actions in order to improve this. So for every SPIs, we should have some action plans developed. So a safety strategy is not there just to say you need to measure this and this only, but we need to have specific actions that we will take in order to achieve our objectives, our SPIs. So I want to have your opinion about this issue, because SPIs is a very challenging issue in the industry. I believe many companies are struggling on what SPIs to select and so on. So I would like to have your opinion about the SPIs. Let us give some examples of the SPIs that you use, or you believe that there are some good SPIs. So let's put the maximum 2 SPIs, maximum 3 words per SPI. So if I can have your opinions, please. Okay, very rich, another very rich set of ideas. I try again to put them in similarly into 2 categories, or a few categories actually. But the main element is what will be the outputs of these SPIs, of this. So for example, we have reports. When we say reports, what reports? So that we can have failures, we can have accidents, we can have incident reports. Number of incident reports are written there. We can have hazard reports. But so we have different levels or different types of failures that we try to measure. So we measure failures, and we measure, again, not only the big failures, but also the smaller failures, because the big failures, the accidents, they are more rare events. And so we tend to go further than the very rare events. So we measure near misses, for example, or number of ground accidents, if we are ground in ramp accidents, for example. But we don't have only failures in the very nice list that you have produced. And allow me to talk about a few of the items here. One I have noted down is toolbox, which is a very interesting one. Training, of course, which is a number one of all the items that you have there. The voluntary reports, the workload, the surveys, the audits, the close findings, the safety management decision. All these are the resolution times. All these are more or less on the positive side. So we don't measure, according to you here, and I fully agree with you, we don't measure only failures, we try also to measure how good we're doing in managing safety. Because what we try to do with SPIs is to identify how safe we are. So we, as we said, we don't wait only for failures, we also look at the bigger picture and try to identify through this picture what are the different, what are the elements of safety and how well we do as far as safety. So excellent results. This is the one approach I would like to share with you. It's an approach that talks about, first of all, two categories of SPIs. One is the, on the left-hand side is lagging indicators, and the right-hand side we have leading indicators. Lagging indicators are also called outcome indicators or reactive indicators. So we have things like accidents and incidents. So we have 4 levels. So we have 2 categories, but we put them into 4 levels. So the 4 level or tier, so another word for level is tier. So tier 1 is runway excursions, fire, ground damages. So these are the accidents region or serious incident region. And then we go to a situation called undesirable event. It's something, if you know how a bow tie works, is the top event or the undesirable event is in the middle of a bow tie is an undesirable situation, a situation where we have lost control, but we have not moved into serious consequences. So if we have an stabilized approach, if we have engine vibration in the ATC, when we have level bust, these are situations where we have lost control, but not necessarily we have any bad consequences. And do we want to measure this? Of course, because tier 1 are rare events, so we don't have so many. So we want to know also in the less serious events that they have not caused any outcomes. So these are tier 2. Let me move to tier 4 and I come back to tier 3 in a little bit. So tier 4 are barriers or defenses. So if we look at our bow tie diagram, tier 3 are the different barriers or defenses that we put in order to prevent things from happening. For example, risk management, safety committees, training. So all items that you have mentioned in your previous in the previous poll. So you have mentioned training, you have mentioned maybe voluntary reports is another, or hazard reports, it is a tier 4. So we would like to have hazard reports. So the more hazard reports we have, the better it is. So yes, this is something positive. It shows that the system is working well. So we not only try to avoid failures, but we want to enhance, we want to make our system more robust. So how we want to measure how robust is our system. So tier 4 is the level of SPIs that shows the robustness of our system. Tier 3 now is something that is in between the two. So when we have audit findings, it's definitely not an incident. It's definitely not a positive thing. It could be positive in a way, but it's somewhere in between the two. The same with non-adherence to procedures. if we don't adhere to procedure, it's definitely not a bad outcome, but it's definitely not a positive one. So it's a situation where we thought that is some situation between the lagging and leading indicators. So, of course, there is a lot more work when it comes to how do we develop SPIs. So one more very important thing to realize is not what SPIs do we have, but is how do we develop these SPIs? So what process do we use to develop SPIs? This is equally important. So that's all I wanted to do about this module. And I think it's a good time to take a break. So let's be back at, now it's 17 minutes past the hour. Let's be back at 35 minutes past the hour. So I give you more than 15 minutes, and I hope you appreciate that. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the break. We can offer coffee if you want. Let us know. We can make some coffee for all of you. Bye-bye for now. So let me just repeat that we're coming back at 35 minutes past the hour. Now it's 18 minutes past the hour. So it's more or less in 17 minutes from now. Thank you very much. So welcome back. Before we continue, I want to express our deepest sympathies to our neighbor friends from Turkey and from Syria about what happened yesterday, and I hope that the suffering will be minimized as far as possible. What else can I say? We've been really devastating for what is happening there through the earthquake that hit the two countries the last few hours. So I would like to move to our next topic. We call it the safety picture, and I will explain what we mean by safety picture. So so the topic is on data, of course, and the question why safety data is so important. I think we all understand and we all realize and we all collect data, but I wanted to understand with this module the importance of data and what can we do to use data. So we have seen a lot of sources of data, which is, we have discussed this before, but we want to see what we do now with that data. So we do collect, and let's collect data from different sources. What do we do with the data? First of all, I want to review some of the elements of the ICAO Safety Management Manual, the last edition, and you can see from the manual how the data has been important. So this edition of the manual, they introduce some new chapters, and these are the chapters that they introduced. So there are 9 chapters in the manual. So, but we can see from the chapters that number 4 is safety performance management. So, okay, similar to what we have been talking before. But number 5, 6, and 7, number 5 is called safety data collection and processing. Number 6 is safety analysis. And number 7 is protection of safety data, safety information, and related sources. So we have 3 out of the 9 chapters that they are dedicated to data. So you can understand the importance of data. So having a good SMS, it means that we need to have good ways of collecting and analyzing and managing our data. So a small story about safety data. I was in a company a few years ago where they had a very good system when it comes to SMS. They were one of the big companies in aviation. They had a good safety department, and they still have a very good safety department. They have good software, very nice systems in place. But to me, they were having some issues with the sources of data. You remember we had in our case, in our story we had, they were collecting from 3 sources data: incident investigation, reporting, and from audits. And it seems that the other sources of data that we mentioned before, they are equally important. And this organization had an accident, and this accident revealed that the biggest issue of this accident, the contributing factors, it was that they didn't collect data from the other sources. So one who could easily interpret this as to not using or not utilizing other sources of data. What do we mean other sources of data? We'll discuss it in a little bit. So this is what we call the safety picture. It's something that we developed in Gratis, and we believe that this is very important. It doesn't mean for all organizations will have the same picture, but what is important is to map all the different sources of safety data, the biggest sources of data that we have as an organization. Of course, if we are an airline or a maintenance organization or an aerodrome or, I don't know, a handling organization, possibly we have different sources. So FDM, for example, is an airline source of information, a very important one. But if we are in the aviation maintenance, we have other sources of data possibly not have by others. So each organization should decide what are the biggest sources of data and manage them accordingly. The idea is that we receive from all the different sources information so we can have a good picture of our safety of the safety in our operations, in our organization. So these are some of the areas that are typical areas or typical sources of information. So reports, either mandatory, voluntary, hazard reports. The system, how is it operated? The SMS, including risk assessment, safety committee meetings, management of changes. All of these are the different operation elements of the SMS. The audits, I think we know how important the audits are. The surveys, where we collect opinions of people. And I'm sure we all agree that opinions of people are very important when it comes, for example, to safety culture, to just culture, to management commitment, to fatigue, to non-compliance. These are different issues that we try to collect people's opinions. Yeah? So a survey is a very important tool where we can get this. Normal operations monitoring, that's another huge part of the data that we should have. We should monitor our normal operation, whatever organization we have. In flight ops is FTM or LOSA. In another elements like an airport, it can be daily inspections, walkarounds that we perform, or in the tarmac, in the parking area, and so on. Then we have surveys twice. Okay, listening and brainstorming can be another source. So listening and brainstorming is something that we underestimate. It's important. We underestimate sometimes how important it is to went down to the floor, yes, to the front line, whatever front line is that one, and get people's opinions, discuss with people and listen to people, possibly through some meetings, And we shouldn't wait for the big safety meetings to get people's opinion. We can do it through, one of the elements that it was mentioned before, the toolbox talks. Yes, the toolbox talks can be a very nice source of information, where not only we give them information, but we ask for information. So ask for what are your biggest safety issues? Very, very simple and very, very effective question. Then training. Training again is a golden opportunity to receive information. Anyway, the regulations are actually mentioning this, that the training, the safety training or the human factors training or the CRM should not be one-way training. It should be an opportunity where we also try to learn from people, try to find out what do they think of safety in the organization, what are the issues that they are facing. And lessons from others outside the organization, like best industry practices from the clients. Yes, if we are a maintenance organization, of course, the clients' inputs are very valuable to us. The manufacturers, they may have a few things to tell us. So, and we put also another area there where we can have other sources. So having different sources of information is very vital for our safety picture. So I would like to have your opinion now about the next step. So we collect all this information. What do we do with this information? What are the how can we use it? So I would like to have your opinions of this. So identify some usage of the safety picture of the information that we receive from various sources. So please let us have your opinions. Is there? Extremely interesting inputs. I have to say that we will send you these inputs. You will receive this in the corresponding, probably, along with the other things like the presentations and some other items. So this is very, very interesting inputs. Improve procedures, continuous improvement, evaluation, training evaluation, effective decision-making, lessons learned, strategic planning, training, staff briefings, data analysis, effective decision-making. So excellent inputs. Thank you very much. Comparison, identify problem areas, improvement. Okay, excellent inputs. Thank you very much. I would like to share our views on that. Before we go further, I would like to ask my good friend and colleague, Roger van der Velder. He's a director and trainer and consultant in the Jargon Aviation Consultancies. He served many years in the Netherlands Civil Aviation Authority. And I would like to welcome Roger. And if you can tell us a little bit about data, Roger.
Okay, Vangelis, thank you very much for introducing me. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
So you are in Delft, or?
Sorry?
You are in the Netherlands.
I'm in the Netherlands, correct. Yeah, far away from any earthquakes.
Yes, okay.
Actually, it's a very nice place. Yeah. So about the data, a lot of it is said on data already. Yeah. The main thing is, why do we need data? We need data to make important decisions, right? Important decisions we make on facts, actual data. Yeah. So therefore, we want to have data there, and the data should be good data. Yeah. So important is that also ICAO says that we need to have a data-driven decision making. That's the term that ICAO uses here. So that we need to have the data to make those decisions. Yeah, and those decisions lead to actions. Yeah, or leads to maybe non-actions, but maybe an acceptance of a residual level of risk that we are taking. That's also an important decision. Yeah? Most of those decisions are management decisions. Could be the higher level management, could also be middle management decisions to continue working in certain conditions, for instance, like that. But we need to have the information. Yeah, the information comes from the data. So it starts with data, important, and then we need to process the data, right? Processing the data will be indicating as like we need to first check the data. Is data correct? Yeah, because certainly for internal reports and so on, there could be biases from people in there, or maybe the data sources are not very reliable. And so we need to check if the data is correct. We need to make an analysis of the data, right? And also important that we need to present the data in a form which can be used by others. Yeah, maybe by graphical representation, or maybe by tables, or maybe by bow ties, as you mentioned, or maybe by risk matrices. Yeah, these are typically also important elements of processing the data. Yeah, and furthermore, it's important to predict the data. Yeah, it's also just mentioned there. Maybe it's interesting to mention that last week EASA has issued new regulations for all operators and airports and etc. and maintenance organizations for CAMOs, that they have to have an information security management system in place. Yeah, the target date there is 2026, so we still have time to go. But it's also important that the protection of data is really a big issue also for EASA. Yeah, and then of course we need to go back to where do we get the data from? So basically that's the whole process of collecting data and processing the data. That is what again ICAO calls the safety data collection and processing system, SDCPS, that's what they call it in the ICAO terms there. Yeah, about the sources of the data, we already mentioned a lot of that. Yeah, important also that we need to see that the data usually comes from observations or from measurements, and those are the two basic the types of sources that we need to have there. Yeah, and most of them are reactive. That's also what you mentioned. They are reactions to failures. Yeah, we should also look at those proactive ones. Yeah, like audits and observations and normal operations and monitoring, those kind of things. Those are proactive things there. Yeah. And also, I was very happy to hear that Marcos was saying that we also need to have predictive elements in there. Yeah, actually, personally, I'm surprised that EASA has, that ICAO has, taken away this whole predictive element of the safety management system. Now, in the past, many years ago, when ICAO was just starting off this whole idea of safety management, predictive predictive data was also a very important thing to say. But I'm good that Marcos mentioned that, because I think that's also very correct, that we need to look at that as well. Yeah, because maybe we see trends, in our own organization, maybe we see trends in our environment, in the sector. Yeah, those else we should considering to doing, not that we should be doing it immediately, but we should be considering to do that maybe in the future. That's predictive actions to be taken there. Yeah.
Very good.
And also we had
Yes.
we had also a look at very different source, internal source and external source. That would be the distinction I would make there. So internal source, where we already mentioned a lot of them, but don't forget the external sources. We have also a lot of information from other parties. I was interesting to see that somebody actually mentioned that we need to have safe reviews from magazines and something like that. That is also important information there. Yeah, customers, are our customers happy there? What do they complain? What kind of complaints do they get to our organization? Yeah, those are also important elements that we need to include in our data.
Very good. And your experience with many organizations, how well do the organizations these days manage data?
Well, that varies a lot, I must say. I think most companies I work with are they think they're quite good. Let me put it this way: they overestimate a little bit what they are doing. So if you really drill down in what they're actually using the data for and so on, sometimes it's a little bit disappointing, and there's a long way to go. Yeah, but of course, many companies have just started doing this. So all operators and so on, they have this requirement already for many years. But if I'm looking at the maintenance organization, CAMA organization, they get it's rather new for them. For the design organization, production organization, very new to them. Yeah, they are very much in the beginning of the learning curve. Yeah.
Okay. And is there? Do they consider, apart from the failures, do they consider also the other sources of data, like opinions of people, brainstorming, listening to people, these kind of things? Is it?
You don't see that happening too often, actually. Things also like surveys. There's also typically something that Kratis does a lot. I think doing these surveys, you spend a lot of time on that. I think excellent. That's a very good tool to actually get feeling about and to get real opinions from people and to see also maybe again see trends in there. So well, hey, people are getting a better feeling than maybe the survey we had last year or 2 years ago or something like that. So are we going the right way or are we going the wrong way? That's important data that you get there. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You don't see that happening too much already, I must say. So personally, my opinion is that we still have a long way to go. But this is, as you said, it's a journey. It's a journey. So
we all learn, and this is the reason we are doing this today. We need to share this knowledge and.
Yeah, of course. No. Therefore, I very support your efforts in doing this. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Roger.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your contribution, and hope to see you sometime soon.
Okay. Yes, sure.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
So let's move to our ideas. These are our ideas of some. I think your list was much richer than mine. So if we put your list, I think it was the previous response. It was excellent. But I would say that the safety picture is at least doing these things. So it's a source of hazard identification, of course. It's a source to tell us where we put our priorities to do safety assurance, for data-driven decision-making, as well as how also mentioned by Roger. And the safety review is a process that is done by the senior management usually. The safety strategy, again, this is something that I think we already mentioned this. The safety performance monitoring, so it's a source, the information that we use in order to decide what SPIs and what SPIs do we develop. SPOs is safety performance objectives. So we don't develop these out of the blue. We need to have some data. And data is a critical input to develop our SPIs. Root cause analysis. So we say, for example, we want to identify why we have ground damages. So we want to do some root cause analysis. Where do we go? We go to our data to see what is the data telling us. Audits. Yeah, the audits, and these days there is a tendency to go to risk-based audits. So where we concentrate on the most risky areas. And how do we know what are the most risky areas? We go back to our data. Safety training, you mentioned this, and you very well mentioned this, that in a lot of times that safety training, where do we concentrate? In aviation maintenance, for example, we have the human factors training that when it comes to continuation training, there is no syllabus for the continuation training. What we do, we have to look at our data and see what are our biggest issues and design the training based on that, based on our biggest human factors or safety issues. These days, human factors and SMS training is being combined into, and is called safety training under EASA regulations. So again, when we develop this training, we need to consult data. And of course, safety communication. We want to have a campaign on safety. What are the topics? There are so many topics. What topic should we use? Of course, we go back to our data and identify the main issues that they require some safety communication. Auditing SMS. I think we have seen through this organization that this auditing SMS is possibly lacking. So there is no the effectiveness of the auditing is possibly not the ideal, and it was evident by the fact that they had a few problems, whereas there were a lot of audits performed before, and these problems were not identified. So I want to have your opinions. What are some differences between compliance audits and SMS audits? So I would like to have your opinions. So please write, use 2 words. Don't make it too big so we can have a better understanding. So write up to 3 differences if you wish. Okay. So let us have your views, please. Okay, we have a few more inputs coming very soon. Okay, very, very interesting points. I want to stay on a few of them. So audit scope for definitely this is different. Regulation vs reality. This is very interesting one. So in one is regulation, the other one is reality. So I guess you mean that the SMS goes into reality where the compliance audit goes to regulation. Compliance audits, they of course they concentrate on whether one organization comply with the actual requirements, as the name says. But if we go to the SMS audits, two words are mostly appearing here. One is effectiveness that appears many times. So effectiveness is something that is something that we aiming for, and the other word is performance. So both words, effectiveness and performance, are possibly reflecting in what an SMS is trying to do. Is trying to go beyond compliance. Of course, compliance when it comes to SMS is also important. Yes, it's very fundamental, but we shouldn't be going only to look for compliance. We should go further to compliance and to look for performance. And this is a great list. Thank you very much. Let's go to the very known, possibly, approach that ICAO, also International Collaborative Group for SMS, a group that is made up of many aviation authorities, including EASA, ICAO, FAA, and so on, and that they got together and developed some guidance material for SMS. One of these material addresses the way to evaluate SMS, and in a similar way, the similar approach has been also adopted by EASA. So the EASA SMS assessment tool, at the moment is dated 2017. I guess the EASA is trying now to amend this and include the new requirements that they cover also Part M and Part 145 and Part 21 organizations, where SMS has also been made mandatory. So what is this approach? This approach calls about 4 levels of SMS implementation. What are these 4 levels? The first one is present. So in the present level, we just verify that this approach is being documented according to the requirements. The second one is suitable. If it is an organization that is 5 people and only one small workshop, is different than an organization like an airline that has different hubs in different countries and is has over 10,000 staff. So it means that you expect to see other type of SMS or requirements applied in one case and other requirements applied in another case. And the next one is operating. So it's not only need to be suitable, present, suitable, but also operating. Yes, is it operating? So there should be an evidence, according to this description, that an output has been produced. Yes, so if we do, for example, risk assessment, we need to have a present. So there is a procedure that describes on how we do risk assessment. The risk assessment process is suitable for this organization, number 2. Number 3 is actually operating. We do perform risk assessment. We have records of risk assessment, which we go to level 3. And then we have the level 4. And what is the level 4? Is effectiveness. So it means that not only we have a system running, but is achieving the desired outcome. So effectiveness means that we have the capability to indicate some effective for achievement of desired results. So in risk management, it means that when we say effective risk management, it means that firstly, they address the right issues. So what do we risk assess? Why did you decide it? Is this reflecting your biggest safety issues? Have you addressed all your safety issues by selecting this risk assessment? So it has to be addressing the right issues. Secondly, have these controls that you have decided to minimize the risk. Are these controls effective enough? Have you tested them whether they are meeting some requirements? And after you decided these controls, then you need to know, have these controls been implemented at the end of the day? Because we may have the best risk assessment in the world. You say, what a risk assessment, wow. But if the controls are not implemented, it's just an academic exercise. So we need to, at the end of the day, to be effective. Yeah? So if we do an investigation, for example, of an incident, we may do the best investigation in the world. We may have a good process, which is present. We may have a suitable according to the size and the complexity of the organization and the nature of the organization. We see that it is applied in all different times that it has to be applied. But the question is it effective? So effectiveness means that when we decide some recommendations, we implement the recommendation. What do we learn from this? How do we improve from this? This goes to the level of effectiveness. So when we do our evaluation or our audits of the SMS, we try to reach these levels. Otherwise, why we should be doing it? Yes. So this is very critical when it comes to SMS audit to reach all these 4 levels. And for this, we have the pleasure and honor to have with us Mr. Elias Nikolaidis. Elias Nikolaidis used to be a pilot for many years, a captain for many years. Then he went to the Civil Aviation Authority of the United Arab Emirates, where he served several years. And he's currently working for Air Hong Kong, in Hong Kong, of course. And he has a title that is, it requires maybe 2 business cards to be put. It is called Managing Safety, Quality, Regulatory Compliance,
Greetings and salutations from Hong Kong.
What time is it there now?
Late, 20 past 8. 20 past 8 p.m.
I hope we don't interrupt you from your dinner.
No. It's all exciting. I'm so happy. I'm among safety professionals, and I'm really learning a lot. I'm learning from you guys, and thank you very much for having me here today. I'm all excited when we talk about SMS. I'm all excited when we talk about safety, and because it's all about us, right? We need to be able to continuously improve, and SMS gives us the tool. It's the tool to is the structural approach effectiveness with policy. Do they follow our policy? Do they know our policy? And all that, you can see there are different levels to understand if something is effective or not. Having said that, I think we have to go now we have to go beyond being effective and to go to the next stage of the effectiveness SMS. And what is that? If we take into account that effective could be kind of subjective, right? We saw previously when you asked the question, I believed that the SPIs deserved a 2. Others believed the SPIs deserved a 3. Others believed that the SPIs deserved 1. Remember the exercise you gave us in the beginning of the session? So can we be objective in our subjectivity? How can we give the tools and the criteria to share and come up with the same, if possible, similar, let's say, result, if different auditors, if different people assess and audit the same SMS? So, honestly speaking, I believe we need to develop further this criteria. We need to agree on the criteria. And to say, to have an example, we all have safety training, right? So we have safety training in Moodle online. We have safety training that we can have an assessment at the end. We can have safety training with a live tutor, a person talking. We can have a safety training which is interactive. We can have a safety training that we learn from the participants. We learn what they believe, what they are afraid. We learn risks. We can have a safety training that the risks that we identify in the training goes back into our SMS. We can have a training that the risks that are identified are going into, from the training, they are going into the SMS, they are feeding, everything is fed back to the system. You can see all different levels of safety training. So everybody has a safety training, but there are different effectiveness and different effective levels, right, of the safety training. So I believe we should try to, and I'm not smart enough to come up with this criteria. I'm not smart enough, but I know IATA is trying, I know EASA is trying to develop and publish this criteria, and I'm looking forward to learn about this criteria so I can have an effective, an objective approach into an effective audit of the SMS.
Wow.
But you have to stop me from talking because I can talk forever about all these things.
Ideas. And since you said IOSA, IATA, I think we know that IOSA the last few months have moved into the effectiveness area. So they try to introduce effectiveness, or in many cases, they have already introduced effectiveness in their audits, in their IOSA audits.
They have 9, if I'm not mistaken, criteria for the effectiveness of their SMS, and I think, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, and they have introduced that effectiveness criteria for the last couple of years. And now they are moving to the RBI, to the risk-based IOSA, which they are trialing right now. And they are aiming, I think, they're going to go to 100 audits next year, are going to be RBI, and they're going to have this criteria. They will be auditing the airlines based on that criteria. And from 2025, all airlines are going to be, all IOSA airlines are going to be audited on a risk-based approach based on the criteria. And I think IATA has the first the first workshop, the first training about this next month in Montreal, 9th to the 10th of that news. Whoever can sustain the cold weather of Montreal and travel, I mean, I'm sure there will be more there.
Thank you very much, Elias. You're always so full of ideas and full of nice inputs, and thank you very much for that.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All what you said are very valuable, and thank you, and see you again soon.
And looking forward to receiving your presentation, because we have so many things to learn from you guys. I mean, thank you for putting this all together. I think I'm speaking for everybody in the virtual room. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for offering this for free. This is great. This is great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elias. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
So let's move to our next topic. Our last topic for today is safety leadership. That's something that we developed the last couple of years, and we feel very passionate about. What is this safety leadership? I'm sure you have heard this in one way or another, but it's something that we have been struggling with many organizations in our efforts to implement an SMS. And maybe you have experience as well, where management is possibly hard to get them buying into SMS, or even harder to make them contribute in an effective way, because they may believe, they may understand the importance of SMS, but at the end of the day, they don't know, or maybe they are not given the right opportunities on how they can make their contribution effective. And we talked about effectiveness before. So let us try to review what we can. If you remember, with Pelican Aviation, they had a few leadership challenges, and I want to mention two of them. One was relationship between management and other personnel. Things that they are not directly related to SMS. But who doesn't believe that the relationship can have an impact on SMS? I strongly believe that they are highly related. And the next one is something that is very simple but very important, is trust. Can an SMS be effective or dependent on the level of trust in an organization? Why trust can help? I think we know a lot of answers, but one very obvious answer is people trusting their management, trusting the system. They can raise their hand, they can make a report, they can voice some of their concerns. So trust, and the opposite of trust is fear. So if we don't trust, we fear. So we trust, it means that we don't fear. Yes, we don't fear of the consequences. We don't fear of something bad will happen to us. So trust is very important. It creates an environment where we have the correct flow of information. And correct flow of information is vital for an SMS. So let's see how we can put this together. First of all, I would like to ask your opinions, talking about a leader. And leader can be a manager, but it can be some other personnel as well. But let's take the leadership as part of the management team. So what are the leadership qualities that are important for SMS? So this is a question for you. I want to leave you to think of this, and I'd like to have your answers, please. extremely rich inputs. Yes, it's so distinct that communication comes as number one. And I think we all understand this. And communication, of course, is not the ability to speak only, but is even more other things like being able to listen, being able to understand others, being able to give feedback to others. So communication is a huge thing that a leader should have. And I have no doubt that it can certainly be considered as the number one. Honesty is another one. I like that. Yes, honesty again is very important. We can see a lot of other inputs like active listening, good listening, that they are also part of communication. Again, communication comes in other cases here. The leading by example, like any other leadership quality, I think leading by example is one of the fundamental leadership qualities. Being role model is a nice one. Open-minded, approachable, fair. Again, a very, very strong one. So empathy, what a nice one. Yes, many studies these days show that empathy is possibly one of the strongest leadership quality. And somebody may say, does that have to do with safety? I think so. Yes, I think empathy has a lot to do with safety. So if I make a decision about my colleagues that affect safety, I should be able to understand what would be the impact of on my colleagues. How do the people would take it? Because I may take a decision that the people will not accept it at the end of the day, or they will not. I have to know what my actions, how the people will take them, what will be the impact on the people. Yes? And we need to also always to be aware of that and have this ability. So very, very rich ideas. And I'm glad that we also have the system gives us the ability to share this, and we will share this with you after this session. So I want to discuss. Let me see why am I doing something wrong? Okay, I want to discuss these leadership qualities with one very distinguished colleague, a colleague that we have been cooperating for many years. He's the corporate compliance and technical training manager. He's the senior manager at Gulfstream Aerospace. He used to work for the Space Shuttle, used to be a training manager working for Space Shuttle. So a very distinguished colleague and a very good friend, which has been kind enough to accept this this invitation for discussion. So, Mr. Todd, can I welcome you to this session? I would like to have your ideas as far as leadership qualities and how important they are for the SMS.
Hello, Vangelis. How are you?
Hello. What is the time over there?
It is 7:30 in the morning.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Sorry if we woke up you very early.
No, it's all good. It's always a pleasure to see you and be part of the great training that you're putting on. And I'd like to ditto what some of the other folks have said. Appreciate everything you do for SMS, human factors, the aviation industry, and safety in general. Your team does a fantastic job, and I think we've been in had a relationship since about 2011. So time flies. But
Wow.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you and the guests today, and I'm not sure that I can add much to the great comments and input that so many folks have already added, and it's a great testament to you and your team that you've got such great participation from all over the entire world. So it's great. When you talk leadership, and you've already mentioned this, and so have the others, but to me, the most important of anything that we have is people, right? We are a people business, whether it's manufacturing aircraft, servicing aircraft, any industry. Without the people, you're not going to produce a product or produce a service. And I think if COVID has taught us anything, that people really want to be valued and they want to be respected, and we have to support our people, whether they're colleagues, whether they're employees, and we have to make sure that they have the correct resources to do their job, not only safely, but with quality and on schedule, right? And this is everything. This is everything from training to make sure that we have the proper tools, make sure we have the proper work environments, everything from temperature to lighting. Too many times, as we learn in human factors, right, the Swiss cheese model, it's all the little things that add up to that one big event. It's many times you can't say, well, that one, that's the thing. Well, it's if that didn't happen, the next thing wouldn't happen. You have that chain, right? That one link that gets weak, and it weakens all the rest. And you have to create an environment where people are comfortable saying, you know what, I did that, or it was because of this that happened. So you get away from the blame culture, and as you mentioned earlier, you move to a just culture, an environment where people trust that not only are they encouraged, but they're also rewarded to step forward and give that safety related information. Be comfortable saying, the lighting isn't okay, or we don't have the right tools, or even the documentation, right? How many times have we heard, well, we've always done it that way. Well, if you know that's not the right way, then you need to speak up and you need to tell people that, hey, we need to change this, get the documentation changed to where it is the right way. And realize that, we're all humans. We all make mistakes, right? I tell my team, every day I make a mistake of one sort or another.
And who remembers this mistake?
What's that?
Who remembers this mistake? I know in my place, my wife, of course, she knows every single mistake that I make at Todd.
Every single one, and she makes sure that you know it too, right?
Of course.
Just realize that we're all human. We make mistakes. As you said, the empathy, right? That is so important, because I know I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I can't expect my employees to be perfect. So and again, as was mentioned by some of your previous folks on the panel, I could talk about this forever because it is such a passionate subject. But I think as leaders, we just need to remember to support each other, support our employees, support our colleagues in the industry.
Very good. Todd, very valuable inputs, my friend. It's so nice to come from a leader, because I know you lead a big team of professionals in your facility, and I can tell how successful leader you are. So that's why I call you to be part of this. And thank you very much for sharing this idea with us.
Thank you, my friend. It was great to see you. Tell your family I said hello, okay?
I will, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
I hope so. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye for now. So I wanted to refer to this approach that we have, safety leadership. So on one side, when it comes to training of safety of managers, we tend to have a two-way approach. We apply this approach the last couple of years. So the first element is to have SMS technical competencies, usually talking about 2 days training, and then another 2 days talking about safety leadership. So how do they differentiate? I know that one can say that they are one thing. They could be one thing, they could be integrated as trainings or as competencies, but unless we found from experience that if we can separate the two, then we give the right attention also to safety leadership. So I will explain what safety leadership is, but if we go first of all to technical competencies that a manager should have, he should have the ability to identify, to prioritize hazards, to review, if not perform risk assessment himself, he has to be able to review risk assessments and understand how effective they are, to make data-driven decision making. Yes, so he should be able to draw from data in order to utilize data to make decisions. That's a huge responsibility for a manager. Management of change and many other elements of the SMS, well, we consider this as the technical side of the competencies a manager should have. In the same way, because I remember when Todd said we need to remember that we are our biggest assets and we are dealing with people. Yes, so realizing that our possibly most challenging area is the people, and I think when we had a discussion about what are the biggest challenges, this is one of the outcomes of this discussion, that it indicates that some of the biggest challenges or our biggest challenges, they have to do with people. So yes, we need to have specific skills or competencies as far as dealing with safety leadership. So what is this safety leadership? We had to develop this into a more structured way where we identify specific competencies and specific outcomes and specific actions and behaviors that we expect from safety managers. Not a theoretical ones, but very, very practical ones, very practical ways of having safety leadership. And this is what we came up with. We came up with 6 qualities that that a leader should have when it comes to safety. These qualities, of course, they are not unique to safety, but they are very important for safety. And so one is communication, and it's something that we all understand, and you have mentioned that, is adapt leadership styles. So we need to be able to apply different leadership styles according to the situation we have in front of us. When we have an emergency, of course, we need to be more direct, more to the point, compared to a different situation where we can ask for people's opinions and so on, involve people in the decision making. Collaboration, yes, collaboration and teamwork, I think, and empathy and caring about people. This is I think we all understand how important this is. Action oriented, so we have not only to be nice with people, but also to have the elements of the willingness to take action. The next one is credibility and accountability. So I think it was also mentioned by you about the honesty and credibility, admitting mistakes. When we make mistakes, we admit mistake. When we say something, we do something. Yes, so we do it. So we don't just words, but we try to be applying what we are saying. And last but not least is fairness, the just culture. We need to be fair. And people are very sensitive to this. Very sensitive, and the effects of being fair, of the effects of not being fair, can be tremendous. So these are some of the qualities that we came up with, and we have developed a total approach to apply this, because we believe that it's not enough to teach or to train people on trade managers on how to do risk assessments on the elements of SMS. These are vital and important, but these are not enough. So we need to go further and apply some good leadership, safety leadership qualities. So this is our approach in safety leadership. I hope you, and this is towards the end of our training. I would like to take some time to answer some of your questions, and then we call it a day. Let us go through some of the questions, and I will try to answer them. There are questions about the certificates, and the answer, yes, there will be certificates sent to you, and of course, this will be sent for people who have full participation. How can we differentiate between one question? How do we, Mr. Zishman? How can we differentiate between positive culture, bureaucratic culture, and just culture? These are different qualities of culture, of safety culture. And first of all, it's very important when it comes to culture to put some dimensions to culture. Because if we leave culture as a vague term, then it's very hard to control, very hard to manage, very hard to evaluate, and very hard to know whether we have improved. So we need, and this is some examples of dimensions of safety culture that our colleague mentioned there. So having a just culture, having a learning culture, a priority culture, a standardizing culture, a flexibility culture, all of these, or teamwork culture, all of these are different types of or different dimensions of culture that we should possibly try to have them in a model, and try to how to make this as a practical way. So it's not enough just to put it in the manual. I have seen many times that in the SMS manual, we say we have, and we believe in culture and safety culture, and it's a priority, and yes, but how do you do it? So it's not enough to put it in the manual, and not having any ways that you you actually apply this culture, whether it's just culture or a learning culture or whatever other dimension of safety culture. So we need to translate these dimensions of safety culture into some practical behaviors, practical expectations. So if we have practical behaviors, practical expectations, practical performance rating for this culture, we have a way to evaluate. We have a way to know where to invest to improve. Otherwise, if we have some vague idea that, you know, well, yes, we have a good safety culture, yes, and next year we have a better safety culture this year. How do you know? So we need to be more specific as far as the expectations, as far as the behaviors. We have to link this to our leadership approach. So these are vital ways of dealing with safety culture. So I have some more questions, I think. How can we motivate employees to be concerned? This is from Mr. Yahya. How can we motivate employees to be concerned about safety, if in their opinion everyone cares only about his own safety? There is no a simple answer to this, and there is no the simple answer to dealing with safety and dealing with people. we can only achieve it if we have a total approach when it comes to safety, a total approach when it comes to dealing with people, a total approach when it comes to leadership. So all of these are things that they work to and should be working together to have some results. So we're talking about results here, and the results is motivating staff. So motivation of staff is, there is no a magic pill that you can put there and then staff will be motivated. So we need to sit down and discuss how we can motivate staff. What are the things that our colleagues are motivated with? What are the gaps that they don't allow our staff to be motivated? What can we do as management or as safety department to encourage people to practice safety? And this doesn't come with one or two things, specific things. It comes with a lot of things. So we need to have a total approach. So when it comes to people issues, there is no a single answer. Yes, so we need to have a total approach to identify and achieve improvement of safety performance and people performance. There is another question: how can we get management to effectively commit to SMS? One of the things we discussed yesterday was we had a chapter on benefits, and we said that in the new IASA requirements under 145, there is a paragraph on benefits. It's also appearing in other regulations. But benefits are important, and this is one of the reasons why benefits are important. It's important because we need to make it clear, and managers, being humans as well, they need to be motivated. And if they feel that there is a benefit to them, not only to the organization, but to them themselves, then there will be one step. This is one step forward to make our management committed. So again, this is not easy, but this is important to be addressed in an organized way. So again, we need to find out, being the managers, being human, what motivates the manager, how we can make them commit. What are the benefits to SMS? How we can make these benefits clear to them? Is the training we offer to them effective? Is it just a tip in the box that we offer, or is it something that really makes them change their beliefs and approaches when it comes to safety? So yes, I think we more or less answer most of the questions that we have. I want to move on and go to a small revision of what are the takeaways of this training, of this session. I have put down 5 takeaways. One is safety strategy is an important part of managing safety. So we should try to find ways to put together something simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. And possibly this is another very vital part of a good SMS, is to be simple. Simplicity is very good, is very important element. SPI should consider not only failures. I think we discussed extensively, so we need to look at failures are only very small part of our operation. So we should not wait for failures to evaluate our SMS. We should look at the whole picture. And this is the reason we have a picture of SMS. And the safety picture is the next item, is a tool that gives us a view of what is actually happening in the organization when it comes to safety. Yeah. The second one is auditing SMS, and we said that auditing SMS differs from a compliance audit, and it applies different methodologies in order to check for the effectiveness of the system. So through auditing SMS, we need to go further and deeper into effectiveness. We have the input from Elias that he says that is very hard. The effectiveness is a little bit subjective, but we need to try. We need to try. We need to, each organization should have their own ways of identifying and deciding what is effective for them. And it doesn't mean, and it's very hard for many times for the regulator to say that, because every organization has its different, and it has its different way of applying SMS. And finally, safety leadership. As we, beyond the technical competencies of the manager should have when it comes to SMS, it should have some people competencies. And this is what we call safety leadership, and we discuss the different elements and different qualities of the leader that are equally important, and sometimes even more important than the technical competencies we expect for a manager to have. We are also very close to our timing. So I want to say just a couple of things before closing. There will be sent to you also a form that you will like you to evaluate this training. Certificates will be also sent to people who have full participation. If you have anything that you would like to share with us, we'll be happy to share, to receive it and discuss it with you. So please feel free to contact us. You know our contact details. And finally, I want to thank you so much for participating in this online seminar. I want to thank our speakers, our guest speakers, for being so willing to offer their knowledge and discuss with us the issues that we discussed. I want also to thank our team in Gradis, Ellie, our very valuable administrator, Solonas and Thomas, and also Vasos, who all been contributing to this and to make this a successful session. So I want to thank you all, and I hope you all have successes in your SMS implementation, and hope one day we have the opportunity to meet in person, especially with people we have never met before. Thank you very much. Have a great day, evening, whatever you have in front of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.